Well, Mark, firstly, Happy New Year to yourself, the players, and the rest of the coaching staff. Did you allow yourself a little bit of time to celebrate last night, or all very disciplined and back into training first thing this morning?
Yeah, I mean, Happy New Year, Doug, to you and the BBC crew, everybody else. Nice to see everybody bright and early. I look fresh-faced, at least. No, I was in bed 10 o'clock. Gary Waddock beat me 9:45, I think. And I haven't seen any of the lads yet, so maybe they're just getting in. But I'm pretty sure everybody will have been having a fairly quiet night. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in. Really, it's been a pretty busy spell this week, but we get in today ready to prepare, and then we'll travel today to Sheffield and stay over. So yeah, we got what a great game to start the year with. What a great challenge that is to go and take on. So back to work this morning, lads. Had yesterday off, and then back in now to prepare for a big game tomorrow.
Yeah, obviously looking back at Friday at Derby, obviously very frustrating in terms of the preparation and the build up and the circumstances surrounding that. 36 hours on, Mark. Have you had a chance to look back on the game and assess things and analyse it, and what are the key things you've taken from it?
We have, yeah. We just actually finished the coaches' meeting upstairs, which went over the game again. So Barry Core watches over the game for the team bits, and Gary for individual clips. So we'll go through some of that with the team this morning from the team stuff, and Gary will do the clips for the individuals that like that before we travel this afternoon. So plenty of time to go over it. Loads of reflections from the game, really. Some of which will probably link into what we want from the game tomorrow, or what we'll need from the game tomorrow, and some of which have in line with what we were trying to get from the game. So I think what we thought we would need from the game would be to have to defend our box and double up in wide areas and try and stop them delivering the box as often as we could. Very, very difficult against a team as talented and as who make the pitch as wide as they do to give those problems. So we didn't do it perfectly, but we did it well. Obviously, the goal came from that scenario, which we may have defended out a little bit better, but we did that reasonably well. Other parts of the game were, we had some unbelievable work ethic and desire to regain the ball, and turned over many of those transition moments, or didn't use them well enough, or played too big too soon in some cases, or in other cases didn't quite play big enough when it was on to playing beyond the opposition. So I think there's probably 3 or 4 big ideas from the game that we wanted to go into with, and 2 or 3 of those we're going to really review this morning, because I think some of them will be really apparent and really important at Hillsborough as they were there. But I think overall, when you look at the game, we were disappointed actually to not take something from it. But we're probably buoyed by the level of performance and togetherness and fight that we've got, despite all the challenges that we're going through at the moment. So that's an encouragement. And the other thing that we loved about it was 28,000 and 1,200 of our fans who were class. It was just a really good occasion to play in, but the games that we want to be taking something from as well.
You mentioned challenges, and obviously when we spoke after the game, you said George Williams had climbed off his sick bed to play. It kind of sums him up as an individual, really, and they're the kind of players that you want within the squad. Secondly, how is he doing? Is he going to be fit for Sheffield Wednesday, Mark?
Well, he's back in his bed. He won't be here today. So whether or not he can make the trip tomorrow, I'd be very, very uncertain of that. He's when your body's at its absolute lowest, and then you put yourself through that, it's going to be tough for him to go again. So we'll try and catch up with him later and see whether he can feel up to getting in the car in the morning. But I wouldn't have thought that would be the case. So yeah, great effort from him on that day. And when his team needed him, he really stood up and delivered for him. And do you know what? I think that's where the team's at the minute. They're really united in this little period. We know we're in a spell where we are limited for players, and we went into this week knowing how big these 2 games were, and it almost emphasised how important the win was on Boxing Day, because 3 points from these 3 games isn't a disaster. If we could take 4, we'd be bouncing. Any more than that is unbelievable. So that's just where we've got to get through this week in the best health we can. And then you hope you can get through the games without any further problems. And obviously we picked a couple up the other night, one with George, one with Ben. So yeah, we are stretched, we know that. But it's just an opportunity for us to test that resilience and try and do it again.
Yeah, you mentioned Ben Warman there. I mean, it looked and sounded a nasty when he looked particularly frustrated when he came off the field of play. Any kind of early assessment on how he's doing and what the extent of the injury is?
No, he's rolled his ankle. We can't get him in for a scan, obviously, for obvious reasons this weekend. So, best case scenario, hopefully we'll be able to get him scanned on Monday. But we won't. We certainly won't see him. So it's not swollen too badly, which is good. But he's off his feet at the minute. He's on crutches. So we're just trying to protect that best we can. So fingers crossed that isn't too long a one, but it's certainly keep him out for tomorrow.
Yeah, continuing the doctor's waiting room theme. When we spoke earlier in the week, you said that you hadn't quite had the results or been able to assess the results of the scans for Lloyd and Harrison. Any further news on those two, Mark?
Yeah, Lloyd will be best part of a month. We're waiting for that. He's a ligament in his shoulder, which needs some time to heal. Harrison's got a follow-up appointment this week with a specialist, but we expect that to be a couple of months minimum. So yeah, it's the news isn't getting any better for us at the moment, and we could do with that window opening just to add some bodies to try and help the team and help the players that are there. So we've never really known a period like it, and they're not really injuries we've caused ourselves either. The majority or all of them are contact injuries. Most of them picked up in games. So it's a tough one for us to take, but at the same time, there's not a lot you can do about it. We are where we are. We have to come through the best way we can.
Yeah, has it changed your kind of outlook for certainly in the early throes of the January transfer window in terms of getting bodies in through necessity rather than the areas on the pitch you'd like to fill ordinarily?
Probably not massively. It might impact the number we need to bring in potentially, but in terms of the areas that we are a little bit lighter, I think the injuries we picked up earlier in the season just showed that we were light in the fullback area. We've ended up now being light in the central defence area. We've been light in central midfield for a while, and we always want to try and add competition and competitiveness in the top end of the pitch. So we'll probably try and strengthen across every area of the squad. We'll try and do as much as we can as early as possible, but the reality is it's not as easy as that. And normally the players that you're trying to sign hinge on the opposition's clubs doing a bit of business first. So ideally we'll try and do something in prior to Bristol, but at the moment it's like this week is proper all hands on trying to get ready for these two games. So Ben's working hard on that at the moment. We're meeting regularly. I've met players and he's met players, and we've got lots of work going on to try and get some bits done, and we're being brilliantly supported. The board and the owners will support us and help us do what we need to do. So the aim is to come out of January better than we are, and as soon as possible, really, because we don't want too many games to pass. The only thing that helps us is it's a quiet month for games, really, one every week. So hopefully that will help us, and we can get as strong as possible, as fast as possible, and get the wins that we need to keep climbing the table.
Yeah, one boost for the squad in terms of availability, the return of Liam Bennett. Mark, was that an easy one to negotiate or sort out with Walsall? Because obviously he was there for the season and recalled slightly earlier.
Yeah, I mean every loan like that has a break clause in January. Probably in our mind, we always had January as an outcome that we'd want to see where he was, and we probably last couple of weeks it's become inevitable that we were going to call him back. I think the balancing act always, when you think about that, is how well a loan is going. If everybody was fit and available, we could add in January. Might have been best to keep him there to guarantee that he plays a 40-game season. What his task is, he's been there, done very well. We've watched a lot of his games and obviously on video or live. And he's come out of that with a brilliant spell. It's probably been the most productive loan spell we've had a young player have. So his task now is to come and help us get in the team, push everybody else, push the level and the standard. And he'll be the first, if you like, new player, because he hasn't even been with us pre-season this year. It's been right from the start that he was with them. But he's got to come in and do his bit. And I need to phone Michael Flynn because obviously he'll be disappointed, I'm sure, that they've lost him. But, you know, we've had that to us in the past. It's the long-term loan. I guess it's the consequence of what can happen. But to Walsall and to Flynn himself, like they've looked after him brilliantly, and it's been a brilliant experience for Liam. So we're really grateful for that and for the opportunity that they've given him, because that's been a huge boost to his development, and he's fit and ready to play, which is important. We want to try and add people in January that have played or been playing rather than haven't really done anything for months. Now, necessity might mean, or opportunity for certain players might mean we take players that haven't been playing, but in the main, we want as many as we can that are battle hardened and ready to come and contribute, and Liam's in that bracket.
He obviously comes back fit and raring to go and played 25 games, 18 in the league. Does it also give you the flexibility to Mark to change up in terms of formation, which you mentioned a couple of days ago, potentially playing three at the back?
Yeah, if we've got three centre backs, it certainly does, but that's quite tough for us to do at the moment. So it does give us that opportunity to play the wing back a lot this season. He can play on the left and the right hand side. He can play full back, so either side. So it gives us cover in lots of areas, and it's a good opportunity for him to play some games and to show us how much he's come on in the first half of the season. So. Yeah, we'll just see. Depending on player availability, I think it gives us a bit more flexibility. And as and when we add players to the squad, hopefully that will be true as well.
Yeah, a quick one on Kai. We see he's been recalled from his loan at Chelmsford just to boost the numbers, I would imagine, Mark.
Yeah, he's been doing well, actually. You don't really want to end that loan. Again, Chelmsford have been good. Robbie Simpson's, he's got in the team there. They're having a great season. But at the minute, we had the number of subs we had on the bench last week, and we lost two more on the other night. So we've got to get players around us, and we need to make sure we've got numbers in the squad. And with the squad size as it is, there'll probably be game opportunities for him at the minute. So that's the challenge for everybody. We wouldn't have wanted to do that really. We want to keep him playing, but needs must. He's a good player. He could go on the pitch, and we wouldn't blink about him playing. So that's good. And then. In that sense, it's about, as and when an opportunity comes, he could very easily go back out on loan again this season, but we need to make sure that we're right here first.
Yeah, looking ahead to tomorrow and Sheffield Wednesday, of course, Mike, another big challenge. We keep talking about them, as was Derby. I think Sheffield Wednesday won, lost in 16 now, and you'll be looking to take some of the elements of the performance from Derby up to Sheffield tomorrow, no doubt.
Yeah, and I think 97 points in the calendar year for last year, I heard after Friday night, which is some going, but that was last year. It's a new year now, so who knows what this year's going to bring. So our job is to go there and put in as competitive a performance as we can and try and take something from the game. We know that's a tough ask, but the players will go and give everything they can against another giant in the league and see what we can take from the game. And then hopefully things settle down a little bit and we'll be able to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, but it doesn't feel like that at the moment. But it is what it is, and you go there and said to the players before the Derby game, 8 years ago I think it was, I was involved in the Christmas and New Year fixtures, and we were preparing for Alfreton and Braintree, and 2 years ago it was Grimsby and Stevenage, and that's the level we've spent most of our time at in recent decades. So that's not a disrespectful comment there. It's just a sign of this year it's Derby, Sheffield Wednesday. Well, I know where I'd rather be. I know the challenges I'd rather be facing. And it's tough for us at the moment. We know that. But at the same time, we've got to go with the enthusiasm and optimism that playing in front of 25, 30,000 brings and give the best of ourselves. And if we do that, then we can't ask any more of these boys than that.
Yeah, obviously they've got some great quality in the squad in Michael Smith and Lee Gregory up top, who scored both of the goals in the fixture earlier in the season. Barry Bannon, I think, is a bit of a doubt for them, so that might be a bit of an advantage. But where do you look on the pitch, Mark, in terms of being key areas and what you might be able to get something from the game from?
The reality when you play the best teams is they don't have that many weaknesses. That's the truth. They've got top players everywhere and a bench full of them to come on and change the game. So I was at Hillsborough in the week and the day before Derby game and against Port Vale, and Port Vale rode them close. But Michael Smith scored 2 good goals, one from the penalty, one in open play. Gregory's been unfit the last couple of games, but could well be back. Barry Bannon came off after 25 minutes, but they put on some top players, and they're a different version, if you like, of themselves, but they're still very good at what they do. It's similar to Derby in the fact that they use the front two that they've got on the pitch and they serve the box, and we will have to defend our box multiple times in the game, and that will be really important for us. And like anything, how brave we are to try and take some control of the game with the ball and how clinical we are in our transition moments and our chance creation when we get them is going to be the key. It always is when you play against the top teams. So it does feel like sometimes we say the same thing over and over against the top teams, but there's so many of them at the minute in this league comparatively to where we are. That's just the reality of the league we're in. So we go and give the best of ourselves and try and be as competitive as possible in those areas. And see if we can cause a surprise.
Great. Thanks, Mark. That's all from me.
I'm fine.
Only one from me, Mark. I'm sure you're not contemplating this at the moment, given the injury situation. But there's a lot of talk about players coming in. Could potentially players be leaving later in the transfer window, or are you sort of set and happy to keep everyone there?
Well, I guess a little bit would depend on what we bring in terms of availability of players for loan elsewhere. So if we were to bring in certain players, there might be opportunities where others could go and play more games elsewhere and get loan opportunities. But at the minute, our squad's so thin, it doesn't sort of open itself up to others going out. We certainly won't be in a position where we're actively looking to move players out and certainly not lose our best players. And everybody's on board with that. So really the aim is to keep what we've got, add to that. And if we're in a position late in the window where the squad size allows one or two of the younger ones to go and play more regularly somewhere, then maybe we'll do that. But that's certainly not the forefront of our mind at the minute. It's number one, just keeping hold of everything that we've got, but adding to that. And I think it's the incomings that is more likely to be this window for sure.